The soft hum of conversation filled the elegant Park Avenue cafe, where the city's elite dined beneath golden chandeliers. Richard Calloway, a powerful real estate tycoon, sat at his usual corner table, savoring a bowl of his favorite lobster bisque. Across from him, his wife, Vanessa, watched with a poised smile, her fingers tracing the rim of her wineglass. Outside, 14-year-old Jaden Carter, the son of a Navy SEAL, observed the couple through the glass. He wasn't supposed to be here. His mother worked as a cleaner at the cafe, and he often waited for her shift to end. But tonight, something felt wrong. His sharp eyes caught the flicker of Vanessa's hand as she reached into her purse. A small vial, a single drop falling into Richard's soup. His breath caught. Poison. Without thinking, Jaden sprinted inside. As Richard raised the spoon to his lips, Jaden lunged, knocking the bowl to the floor. The cafe fell silent, gasps rippling through the crowd. "You can't eat that." Jaden's voice trembled, his heart pounding. Richard stared at the boy in shock, while Vanessa's expression remained unreadable. Then, slowly, she let out a soft chuckle. "Is this some kind of prank?" she asked, her tone smooth, controlled. But Jaden knew the truth, and he had to make them believe him. The cafe manager rushed over, his face tight with concern. "What's going on here?" Jaden pointed at the shattered bowl on the floor. "She put something in his soup." Murmurs spread through the room. Some guests leaned in, eager for drama, while others exchanged uneasy glances. Richard studied Jaden. The boy's clothes were worn but clean, his sneakers scuffed. His dark eyes burned with urgency. But Vanessa merely sighed, shaking her head. "This is ridiculous," she said. "He's just a child looking for attention." Jaden's hands balled into fists. "I saw you. You had a vial." Richard's gaze shifted to his wife. Vanessa didn't flinch. Instead, she leaned back in her chair, her expression cool. "Are you really going to take the word of a stranger over your own wife?" The question hung in the air. Outside, the city lights twinkled, unaware of the battle unfolding inside. Jaden's instincts screamed at him. He had to act fast. He glanced at the waiter standing nearby. "Bring another bowl of the same soup," Richard ordered suddenly. His deep voice cut through the tension. Vanessa's fingers tapped lightly against the table. "Richard, don't be absurd." But Richard wasn't listening to her anymore. His focus was on the soup, the boy, and the growing doubt creeping into his mind. The waiter hesitated before nodding and hurrying toward the kitchen. Vanessa's eyes darkened. "Are you really testing me, Richard?" Jaden stood his ground. "If you're innocent, you have nothing to worry about." For the first time that evening, Vanessa's mask slipped, just a little. The waiter returned moments later with a fresh bowl of lobster bisque, steam curling into the air. Richard studied it for a moment before pushing it toward Vanessa. "You take the first bite," he said. A flicker of something, fear, annoyance, flashed in Vanessa's eyes. Then she let out a soft laugh. "Richard, this is ridiculous." "No," he said, his voice like steel. "It's not." The cafe held its breath. Vanessa hesitated, her fingers gripping the spoon. A second too long. A moment too hesitant, and that was all Richard needed. Jaden watched as realization dawned in Richard's eyes. He knew. The tension in the cafe was suffocating. Vanessa's perfectly manicured fingers trembled slightly as she held the spoon. Jaden noticed the way her jaw clenched, the flicker of calculation in her eyes. "Go ahead, Vanessa," Richard said, his voice eerily calm. She hesitated, then placed the spoon back into the bowl. "I don't have to prove anything," she stated, forcing a smile. "This is absurd." Jaden stepped closer. "If there's nothing wrong with the soup, why won't you eat it?" Vanessa's lips parted, but no words came. Richard exhaled sharply, his mind racing. Could it be true? Had the woman he trusted with his life betrayed him? "You always were good at pretending, Vanessa," he said quietly. A cold shiver ran down Jaden's spine. He had stopped something terrible from happening, but what now? Before anyone could react, Vanessa pushed back her chair and stood abruptly. "I don't have time for this nonsense," she said, grabbing her purse. Richard didn't stop her. Maybe a part of him wanted to see how far she would go. Jaden, however, had seen enough action movies to know what came next. Vanessa wasn't just leaving, she was escaping. As she turned, her hand slipped into her purse. Jaden's gut twisted. She's reaching for something. "Watch out!" he yelled. Richard barely had time to move before Vanessa pulled out a sleek silver handgun, small enough to fit inside her bag but deadly enough at close range. The cafe erupted in chaos. Screams, overturned chairs, the shattering of glass. Jaden dived under the table, his heart pounding. He saw Richard shift, raising his arms in surrender, his face unreadable. "Vanessa," he murmured, "don't do this." But she was beyond reason now. The cafe doors burst open as security guards rushed in, guns drawn. The sight of them made Vanessa take a step back, her mind racing for an escape plan. Jaden saw his chance. If I don't stop her, she might hurt someone. With all his strength, he lunged forward, grabbing a chair and hurling it toward her. The distraction worked. Vanessa flinched, her aim faltering. A loud bang echoed through the cafe, and Jaden hit the ground, covering his head. The bullet missed Richard by inches, embedding itself into the wooden counter behind him. In the next second, security tackled Vanessa, wrenching the gun from her grasp. She fought, screamed, but it was over. Richard remained frozen, staring at his wife in shock. Jaden sat up slowly, his hands trembling. "You saved my life," Richard finally said, turning to Jaden. The boy swallowed hard. I did what I had to." The police arrived soon after, taking Vanessa away in handcuffs. Her eyes met Richard's one last time, filled with fury, betrayal, and something else. Richard exhaled deeply, rubbing his temples. I never saw it coming. Jaden didn't know what to say. He had stepped into this world by accident, and now nothing would be the same. A detective approached them. "The kid's a hero," he said. "If he hadn't acted fast, this could have ended badly." Richard looked at Jaden, a newfound respect in his eyes. "He's more than that. He's a fighter." Jaden shifted uncomfortably. He wasn't looking for praise. He just wanted to go home. As he turned to leave, Richard stopped him. "Wait," he said. "I owe you. Let's talk." Jaden hesitated. Maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something bigger.